Dude,
bro.
I need a fucking haircut, bro. My hair
Yeah,
gets
me
so.
too. Look at this shit.
See, but you keep your hair long, more or less. I, on the
Yeah.
other hand, do not do such a thing. Yeah, I mean, we're already recording. What's up, everybody? Welcome to our 90-second podcast between me and Mark, where we discuss all things video game. Goddamn, I'm fixing these angles right now, bro. My angles are trash.
And I'm
Um,
starting the timer 90 seconds exactly that I'm out of here.
what?
You said 90-second podcast.
No, I said our 90-second.
Oh, gotcha.
I can see the
English
confusion.
is a fun language.
But yeah, Mark has hunted me down because he saw a recent video of mine. I gotta fucking crack open the good
I
stuff.
think we already talked about this, but we have the exact same fan.
We do, yeah. Where do we have
Yeah,
talked about
that's so
that?
funny.
What?
Yours looks way cleaner than mine, but I don't know if that's just because of the lighting.
I pulled it out of the trash can. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, so Mark, he saw a video of mine talking about modern controllers. He's like, I'm gonna find this guy, I'm gonna hunt him down, and I'm gonna talk to him about this on a podcast.
Yeah.
And
We're about to box. I'm going to use modern controls and just prove why they're superior.
honestly, like I'm not tapped on the subject, but I've talked about it so extensively lately that I'm just
Yeah.
like, holy cow. I mean, what more is there that I could really say? Like I've been all up, left, down, and right and center in the comment section talking to everybody and telling them why they're fucking wrong and stupid.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like, the problem is there's, like, such a polarized opinion where, like, you're either, like, the people are, like, super for it or they're super against it. And it's like, it doesn't really.
I know I'm like one of the few that's like more or less in the middle. I definitely lean towards like more against it, but the benefits make me okay with it, and I'm
Right.
fine with that at the end of the day. But before we get into things, I wanted to ask, what you been up to, man? How you doing?
Well, I haven't uploaded since November, so
That's
doing a
okay.
whole lot of stuff.
That's okay.
No, I've just been working a lot, and I've been working on. I'm getting a promotion soon, so I've been working on getting ready for the test for that.
I'm working on spilling all over myself. It's a
Hell
good start to the
bro.
day.
It's over here with Monster. I got water.
But what do you what have you been down with? What have you been playing on the side, even if you haven't been recording or uploading or anything? What's
A lot of Stellaris and League of Legends.
Stellaris? I have no knowledge of Stellaris. I definitely have knowledge on League of Legends, maybe a
Yeah.
little bit more than I'd like to.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I mean, is there anything that's around the corner that's piquing your interest? Because we have a lot of games coming out.
I haven't even looked. Persona 3 Reload. I'm pretty excited for.
Fuck yeah.
Besides that, I don't really know of any games coming out.
Honestly, I've talked to so many people extensively about like things that are around the corner, and honestly, it doesn't look like it's shaping up to be that good of a year for gaming, which is
I
actually
don't think
fine.
so.
I'll honestly take it because
We've had some pretty big like years, past couple of years.
very true. A lot of good years,
Yeah.
especially in the last couple, especially for fighting game fans. Whoop whoop. But also, I mean, I'm
That's
looking to
true.
kill some shit off the backlog, man. Like I've had so many games just waiting for me to open them up, and honestly, I've bought so many without even like playing them even a little bit. So this might be a good year
Yeah.
for indies or whatever you just have sitting in the backlog, man.
That's true. That's true.
But I figure we can get things under the way. And just slightly before that, you guys can absolutely check out this guy on my left. I don't know if I'm on his right or whatever. At Olaf the Bard on YouTube and Twitch and all that good stuff. There will be a link to all his stuff in the description down below. But let's get underway. We're talking about the Modern Menace. So if you don't know what modern controls
Ruining fighting games.
kind of. I'm not really. Like I said, I'm pretty neutral for the most part. But if you don't know what modern controls are, think like Smash, kind of where you have like your basic attack buttons, and then you have like a special move button that lets you do all your Hadokens, Shoryukens, all that stuff. And the biggest point of controversy is that it has found its way into Street Fighter for a lot of people. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people are for it. I get that it gets people playing the game in a way that Edgewise might not have been able to in the past. But what are your thoughts, man? I'm curious to hear from you.
Well, I have two things, but on the Street Fighter thing, I have a question that I think we should all be asking ourselves when it comes to whether or not this should be in Street Fighter, which is, do we really care if Street Fighter gets new players? Right? Like, does Street Fighter need new players? Right? Like,
Depends on how you
Whether or not you're for or against modern controls, does it really matter if Street Fighter gets new players? Street Fighter's been around since like the dawn of games, right? Like Street Fighter is an old fucking game. It's okay if the only people that play it are the people who have played it since like Street Fighter 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, right?
Oh yeah.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do think the modern controls hurt Street Fighter for sure. But going on to modern controls, so one thing that people need to realize is that genres of games always develop, and in order to develop, experimental systems are used. Fighting games have been stagnant for years, and they tried adding things. Some games added a guard meter so you couldn't infinitely guard. Some games added chip damage. Some games added like meter when they didn't have it. You know, some games added like what's it called? Perfect parry or
Perfect
whatever the
block.
fuck it's called.
Yeah.
You know, so things get added to like shake up the game, but none of them have been wholly game changing, right? Like the game still performed pretty much the same. I think the problem is that fighting games are actually not doing as well as people think they are. People think that because they and their friends really like fighting games that it's like more globally popular, but it's actually not. Fighting games they're not necessarily on a downward trend. They're just kind of stagnant now.
No,
you know,
absolutely.
they're not going up.
So like just to slightly cut you off there, you know, fighting games have always been like a niche genre since the dawn of time, except for like maybe in the arcade era, which like Street Fighter 2, Third Strike, such that. Because you know, just people weren't able to get their hands on consoles, and even then the console version of fighting games were just inferior at the time. But I would say there was a lull, probably like early 2000s up until 2009 at the release of Street Fighter 4.
That's fair.
And then since then, the fighting game scene has not been booming, but it's been on a steady incline just with the release of new games and titles.
I think for like the early 2010s, there actually was a pretty big boom. Like competitive.
Absolutely.
This is when competitive fighting games became more public because of things like YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that.
Very true, yeah.
And so people started really getting into it. But now that we look at it, you know, a game by the same company a lot of times performs in a similar way, right? Like there's not a lot of difference between the two games. There is difference, otherwise they wouldn't be different games, but like you could go from one game to the other and pick it up pretty quickly.
Oh, I thought when you said performance, I thought you were talking about like how many people actually pick up the game.
Both.
There's...
Fighting games like, and I know, all right, so here's the thing, right? So this is where it gets into like some complicated shit, right? So when you look at sales in the last couple of years compared to a few years ago, you're going to say, well, the sales are up.
Yeah.
And technically you're right, but that doesn't mean the games were popular when you look at the proportion, right? So when you look at other games, if you look at shooter game sales are up by a much higher margin.
Most definitely.
Right? So you got to look at it like this. As time goes on, more and more people are playing video games. So every game genre that is already popular will get higher sales. But whether or not it becomes more popular is different, right? So fighting games are actually becoming less popular even though they're getting more sales. The reason for this is, in order to reach that high pro level, you have to dedicate a lot of time. It is really, really hard, right? And that's not a problem. That's just what it is. But the problem for a lot of new players is they want to reach that level, but they don't want to wait 10 years into the future before they get to that level. Here's the thing. That brings us to the next really important question. Are modern controls the fix? I think the answer is no.
Okay, so with that said, there's definitely a number of players that are performing pretty well in modern. There's a lot of pro players that were even considering modern for a time. Like one of the most notable names, and I know you don't know names in the fighting game space, but for those of you that do know, is Tokido. Tokido is a premier fighting game player. He's played all sorts of games, but he's primarily known for Street Fighter, even back since Third Strike and so on and so forth. Known for his Akuma play. And yeah, there was a lot of time that the Japanese scene was like, are modern controls worth it? Ultimately, they went back to classic because I think it's easy to go back to classic when you've been playing it for years upon years because you're overriding a muscle memory that you built for so many years. I think it's more feasible that a newer player, like if two players were going into the competitive scene with classic and modern, I think Modern has a chance of breaking through because you don't have any like habits to override or anything like that. There is a loss on damage for those of you that don't know, but you have ease of execution as your benefit and speed. People underestimate how crucial speed and execution actually is when it comes down to these things because like looking at a character like Cammy, who has 2 anti-airs with her back medium punch, which is a very like upwards anti-air, and her crouching heavy punch. Her crouching heavy punch is more like a 45. So in a situation like that, you have to look at it where even if I lose one of those normals, like I have to be very picky with when I use those normals to anti-air because like one anti-air might cover a certain angle while the other one covers a different angle better. With modern controls, you don't even have to worry about that. You can just anti-air DP very easily just because you're pressing forward in a button. And then you have a really, really, really powerful anti-air. Who cares if it's less damage? You get this consistently really good anti-air all the time with fast reaction. Being able to reaction DP, being able to reaction super on things like bad fireballs is absolutely crucial, and it weighs on the mental stack of your opponent that could be playing you as a modern player. People don't understand that as well, where it's like you have to fundamentally think about what you're playing against differently.
Yeah. There's also a really easy way to like analogize. There's an easy analogy for this.
Oh, okay.
Which is, imagine that your moves in a fighting game are like playing rock, paper, scissors, and using simplified controls is like being able to throw your choice after your opponent, right? Like, so you get to wait to see what they're doing first because you can see their movements, you can see their ability startup, and then you have extra time to react to that, right? You don't have to think as much, okay, I need to do this movement. And also, something to keep in mind, especially for older players, the reason they probably don't like modern controls is because when they think, okay, I need to DP, they're not thinking of the movements they need to make. They just do them, right? Because they're used to them.
Yeah, they definitely drilled that for years and years.
Exactly. I think the problem is we need something that is more simplified, but we don't need modern controls, right? Because when you have these complex movements to use a button, that's what turns people away. Because, like, man, I don't want to spend hours learning this shit. I'm just going to go play Fortnite, you know? But, like, when I played, like, for example, Fighters, the movement for the abilities in Fighters was great for new players. You know, the most complicated movement was, like, a quarter circle. And that's so easy to do. You know, like, I think when you have, like, 360s and you have, like, the Z motion and, like, all kinds of crazy shit like that, it's just too much, you know?
A big one that people get hung up on a lot is the Z motion, otherwise known as a Dragon Punch input, because they look at it and like, what the fuck is this Z thing? But even I was hung up on that when I first got it started and taking fighting games more seriously, and it's because I didn't know like a shortcut of, and I'll explain it here, is just press forward and then roll a quarter circle, and then that's a DP input. A lot of people are trying to do forward and then go to down and then down forward, and that fucks up people a lot. I still drop them to this day, but that definitely made it substantially easier. Like, there's all kinds of tricks that you can learn.
I think, like, because, so the problem is, for people, is that it doesn't feel good when the reason that your combo fails is because of the input.
I'm definitely the antithesis of that, though, because I like that there's something I can continuously sharpen, and that's just the competitive mindset in me.
Right. But you got to understand, you are the exception.
I get that.
Most people don't like that. Most people want the game to be something that's easy to read, so that way they can learn it. Not necessarily easy to play, but easy to read, so that way they know, okay, here's what I need to do. You know what the biggest thing that made me stop playing Soul Calibur was?
What's up?
All of the combo tutorials in the game were not played. It was just a text document, and I was like, I ain't reading all this fucking bullshit.
Bad. I forgot about that.
It is fucking awful. You know, so it's like, we need something more simplified. Maybe instead of like showing the directional, I don't know. Like, obviously, I'm not a guy who develops games, so I don't know what the thing is. But I think that the problem with Classic is that it assumes you're going to spend too much time on the game, and the problem with Modern is it assumes that you don't need to spend any time on the game to be good at the game. So we need something more in the middle.
Okay, so I at the end of the day, I'm okay with modern inputs because at like in spite of that, you still need the knowledge. Like once you get past motion inputs, you'll realize motion inputs really are not that hard. It does take a little bit of time, and for some people, it takes a little bit more time, but like the hard part comes after. It's the frame data. If you really want to get good, it's the matchup knowledge. It's how your character wants to fight a different character. It's what your character wants to do.
Right?
Yeah, no, it absolutely is.
That's more just learning.
But it's just a lot of people have a misconception that motion inputs are what's stopping me from being good when that's not the case. You're going to run into multiple roadblocks along your way.
Right, but that's the most annoying one.
Right,
like the problem is that it's the first roadblock you get to, and it's the most annoying roadblock you get to. So getting over that roadblock, if you do, you're going to reach this whole world of fighting games that you fucking love, but you got to get over that roadblock. And for people, it makes them, because like, imagine I'm a guy who's like, I want to play this fighting game. I want to play Street Fighter, right? And I want to get pretty good at it. And then I go in, I've got like, let's say I have 3 hours a day I can dedicate to it. And I dedicate a few weeks, and I'm just really bad at inputs, and it takes extra practice for me compared to some other people. And then I just go, why the fuck would I play this when I could play Fortnite?
It's definitely a mentality thing. Because like for those of you at home, I believe in you that you can get past motion inputs. You can do it. But
the problem is whether or not they can. Why should they? Right, that's the question. Why should they get past it?
Well, so that you can go on to people will get hung up on that and think that they're not playing the game. Like it's a perception thing. I can get anyone playing a very good version of the game with like minimal inputs. You don't even have to use special moves if you know what your character does.
People want to, right?
Sure.
That's kind of what brings them to the game.
Well, then they can kindly fuck up.
You see kind of play, right? Because for people having fun in a game, it's directly proportional to the amount of reward they get for the amount of effort they put in. So when you see games like Battle Royales or like MMOs and stuff like that, the reason that people enjoy those games is because it's high levels of fun for low levels of effort.
I agree.
Whereas fighting games are high levels of fun for high levels of effort.
And I think so there are fighting games geared more towards like the development of their development being based around modern inputs. So like DNF Duel and Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising are great examples of this. I understand wanting to get into a game and just immediately having fun, but if every game is modeled like that, if every game
hang on. Not immediately having fun.
Okay.
They just the amount of effort they put in they want to equate to how much fun they have, and when they have to put high levels of effort in before they can have fun, it feels like they're not having fun. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes. And like the direction my statement is going is still like applies to that idea as well, where it's just like you have games that are modeled for that mindset of player. But I like there being differences, because if you get the same thing everywhere you go, you're gonna get exhausted. Like you're gonna be like, okay, where's the challenge? And yes, I understand that in other games, like there's always going to be the next layer, but when I'm not even sure how to best phrase this, but I like when games are modeled differently. I like the fact that fighting games are hard. Fighting games result purely off of your desire. There was a comment that I got that was just like, I think the idea of, God, what did you say? I think the idea of wanting to play the fighting game enough so you will play the fighting game is flawed in spite of motion inputs. And I disagree, because that just means for that person that they didn't desire to play the game enough. There is more inclusivity modeled in newer games. I think the problem arises from trying to inject a new formula into an existing franchise.
100% agree with you on that. Street Fighter should not have modern inputs. That is stupid as fuck. I hate that.
I think.
But what I'm saying is newer games, if they do this, it's probably better, right?
I agree.
Not necessarily modified inputs, but something simpler.
I don't want that to be the only focus though, because like
Sure.
even
Well, and there's still gonna be games like what was that fucking anime game with the crazy inputs? I can't remember, but there's an
King of
anime fighter
Fighters?
with I don't know, it might be,
King of
but it has
Fighters
like a
13.
lot of crazy inputs. That's for like the more expert type players who like to really abuse these crazy systems.
Oh, dude, you should
And that's
see the
good.
King of
Those
Fighters
games,
combos.
yeah, those games should still exist. But like, the more casual players that still want to be competitive also should have a game they could play. You know what I mean? Like
It's very
the,
much
the idea that like one is good and one is bad is inherently flawed. What people have to realize is one is good for one thing and bad for the other, while the other is good for that other thing but bad for the thing the other thing's good for, right? Like
so.
both can exist at the same time.
In a different comment, they were saying that the general direction of fighting games is going towards more inclusivity, and I agree.
It's probably true. I think it's general in gaming. I think all gaming is going that way.
Yeah. With that said, though, like as much as I'm like against,
Like, let me put it to you like this: take any of these like Dark Souls,
Ooh,
Elden Ring
don't get
players
me
that
started.
have never played Gauntlet before and put them in Gauntlet, they're gonna get fucked. Promise you.
Don't so like Dark Souls is actually a great example because people were up in arms, and I'm not gonna derail myself too much, but people were up in arms because like Dark Souls and Elden Ring needs an easy mode. I'm just like, no, that's the game. That's the way the game was developed, and that's the way it was meant to get played, get good. And
But just don't play it if you don't want a challenging game.
agreed.
Right? Like, that's what I
Holy
played Dark
cow.
Souls. I played Dark Souls 3, I think, and I was like, oh, this game's kind of cool. And then like I got to a boss that I couldn't beat, and I'm like, man, I don't want to spend the time learning how to fight this guy, so I just stopped playing it. And I moved on.
That was definitely the thing for me because like just the satisfaction. Like I love difficult games in general. Like
Right.
Jump King.
I do too. Just for
platform
me,
will
more
destroy you.
strategic.
Sure.
Yeah, I like more strategic difficulty rather than mechanic difficulty.
Different strokes for different folks. Absolutely agree. But like as much as I hate the mentality of like, oh, just get good, like I do agree with it to an extent because like yeah,
I think
sorry, go
Well, the
ahead.
problem I think is instead of saying get good, we should say, well, that's supposed to be why you enjoy the game.
Yes,
And so that
absolutely.
way, instead of people hearing, excuse me, instead of people hearing you're bad, what they're hearing is this probably isn't the game for you.
Surmounting difficulty, the like the dopamine hit that you get after like, oh yeah, you struggle on a boss for like 30-40 minutes, who knows, even multiple sessions, who like this is just example, but when you finally get that, you feel like a fucking unit when you accomplish that shit. But
But of course, there's still a limit for that. I'm sure if I put you into a game where it felt like you couldn't do anything, you would probably get frustrated and stop playing the game.
maybe not me per se, because I
I
spent
think you would.
I spent 8
I
hours.
guarantee you that there is a ceiling to this desire to play.
Maybe, yeah,
difficult
maybe
games.
so. And like,
Yeah.
but I haven't run into it personally. Like, if I can,
Well, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
if I run into a game that I don't like, it's not because it's ever too difficult. It's just what the game presents to me, whether that's it as a package, visual style, like
Well, and I think the game I hypothetically presented there doesn't exist because I don't think people actually make games to make them unwinnable because that is just not fun. You know, like I don't think Dark Souls or Elden Ring was made to be unwinnable.
no. Do you want
It
to
was
know
just
what it's
meant
actually
to be
made for?
really, really crazy hard. You know?
So that's not actually true either. At least out of what I know, I could be totally wrong in that. But Demon Souls, the incarnation of the Souls franchise, was just made with realistic damage in mind.
Yeah.
So and it being
That brings me to a whole other argument,
Yeah.
like on realism in video games. I think realism is really bad in video games.
it being as difficult as it is just like a byproduct of that
Yeah.
idea. I could be totally wrong. Someone can correct me down in the comments down below.
I think the newer games definitely they've designed to be
Yeah,
more difficult. But yeah, no,
absolutely.
Demon Souls, they weren't like trying to make the bosses crazy hard. They were just like, well, if you get hit, here, you're probably gonna die. So
I have to tell everyone that like, okay, Dark Souls and Demon Souls is not that hard. It's when you get into like Dark Souls 3 and onwards and Dark Souls 2 is just a bad game.
True.
But
Very true.
that's when like there's like a potential shift where like you know, the
fact-
AI and like the move set advances.
I got my first trophy on Dark Souls 2 on PlayStation. You want to know which trophy it was?
What was it?
It was Welcome to Dark Souls. It's You get a trophy for dying.
Fuck yeah.
You
So, doubling way back, with the direction that games are going, even for something like Street Fighter, has been ease of access for a long time, even before Street Fighter 6. Look no further, and I've made this point before, look no further than Street Fighter 4. I've gone back and played a bit of Street Fighter 4. I played it online, I played it locally. The execution in that game is very fucking difficult because there does not exist a buffer window. What a buffer window is inputting a input, and then you have a certain grace period where you can input a input early or, well, early, and then it'll come out at its soonest convenience that it's able to. That does not exist in Street Fighter 4 that I'm aware of. So you have to be on the money for your timing, making that game executionally difficult. There's one frame links in that game. That means you have 1/60th of a second to link a attack into a different attack. That does not include the entirety of the game. But taking that formula, and there was some amazing moments in that game, and I still love that game, even though I wasn't a part of the FGC at the time. But going into Street Fighter 5, people were up in arms at Street Fighter 5 because it was executionally easier. There were still executionally difficult things, but they added the buffer window. There wasn't any one frame links.
Can I speak on the big moments thing real quick?
Lay it down, please.
So I think there's actually kind of a fallacy here where it's like it was better back when, where it's like, oh, because it was harder, it was better. And I think that the problem with that kind of mindset is you can still have really cool, crazy plays. They're just going to be different kinds of cool and crazy plays. Right? Like, sure, you won't have the people linking these 1/60th of a second combos, but people will still do some crazy shit. You know, pro gamers are fucking ridiculous when it comes to gaming. You know, so I just want to put that out there because I think for a lot of people, I think this mindset of things that are difficult to do make them cooler, and that's not necessarily the case.
It is and it isn't. Because I mean, if you know how hard something is to do, and you take that and add tournament pressure, mental stack, and just like, you know, everything revolving around that moment, and someone still pulls off.
But don't get me wrong, there's still really, really cool moments. There's just going to be other different types of cool moments later on, you know?
Hard agree. But like, you know, Evo Moment 37, one of the most revered moments in fighting game history, like that, it's almost a meme to this point with how famous it is within the community. That moment is big because it's executionally hard. Like, people don't, someone made a comment to me is like, execution doesn't make more moments more hype, and then they listed that moment. I'm like, do you know what you just said to me? Like, are you
just don't know what they're talking about.
I guess not.
I guess my question to that would be, would that moment be cool if there were 40 other moments exactly like it?
No, but you're almost reinforcing my point by saying that.
Well, no. What I mean by that is, cool moments are cool because they're different, right? Like, because different things happen. So if we go forward and people learn how to do that 100% of the time, and they do it over and over and over again, it stops being as cool, right? But if they learn how to do something else that's really cool, both cool moments exist at the same time, right?
Absolutely. So that game is Street Fighter Third Strike. You can parry in that game, and Chun-Li's super has 16 hits, and like as far as people were concerned, that game was packed up because Daigo was on a pixel. That game has chip damage. You can chip die, and
which I hate, by the way. I think chip damage is so stupid.
I think chip damage is fine. I don't like dying to chip.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'll agree with that.
So yeah, Chun-Li's super has 16 hits. If Daigo even blocked one of those hits of the super, he was dead. And people didn't think, like, people knew it was possible to do, but no one up until that point in the early 2000s had done anything like that. It might have even been the 90s, but I think it was 2000. And yeah, it was just like the circumstances in that situation, like the do or die situation, on top of being so executionally phenomenal at the time, like just made legendary status. People since then have done it. Like, look no further than Justin Wong's YouTube channel, the person that got parried, and people parry him in Third Strike Online. And
right, but what made it cool was that it was in the tournament setting with all the stresses of it, where he was gonna lose if he didn't do it right. Like, doing it online is whatever because you lose online, so what? You just queue again, right? Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, absolutely. But also at the time, no one fucking did that. No one labbed that shit. There was no training mode back then. Like
it was cool because it was an unplanned thing that reversed the game.
Yeah,
right. Like
absolutely.
it was he had no other choice and he did.
Have you seen that
right?
moment? Have you?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
It's fucking sick. I'm not gonna lie.
And
cool is because it's like there's multiple factors. A, it's really fucking hard to do. B, there's no way he practiced it. Like none at all.
I mean,
C,
maybe, but just different setting.
maybe. C, it would have been really hard to do normally, and he was in a setting that made it even harder. And D, if he didn't do it, he lost.
Yeah.
Like that's what made that whole scene, that whole thing really cool. Right?
Oh God, godlike. We love Daigo here. I mean, who doesn't love Daigo?
All my homies love Daigo.
Yeah, all my homies love Diego Ume Juarez. But dude, what was I even talking about? But going back, so like Street Fighter 4, very difficult game executionally.
Mm-hmm.
Street Fighter 5, people were calling like the developers like retarded when it come.
Yeah, I remember people not being super happy with it.
No, Vanilla 5 was actually a terrible game to begin with, but just like everyone was very upset that it's just like, oh, okay, we're losing our sense of player expression because you have these hard combos, you're taking away them, and now everyone can do everyone else's combos. Therefore, like, you know, standing out is that much harder because
so when you say
can't just
everyone
be
can
the
do everybody else's combos, do you mean players can do other players or characters can do other characters?
players can do other players.
Gotcha.
So like, you know, you could have the
there's
best.
not. It's really hard to have a unique combo to
Absolutely.
yourself. Okay.
And people were very up in arms about that. And Street Fighter 6 was aimed to be even easier to get into than 5. So, you know, if the trend continues, like, I'm afraid of what Street Fighter can potentially be. I kind of like where Street Fighter 6 is at. But if it gets any, like, too much easier, goes in that direction, too much of, like, catering, I don't know if it's going to be a franchise that I want to follow.
You know, I think, so everyone obviously who has played a lot of Street Fighter is asking the question, is Street Fighter getting too user-friendly, right? But I don't think they're asking the question, why is Street Fighter getting too user-friendly, right? Like, what are they doing? Why are they doing it? What's the reason? I think the reason is that Street Fighter just doesn't have much of a player base anymore, right? Like, it's
hard disagree.
It's not that comparable.
Hard
Maybe?
disagree.
I don't know, because, like, I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'm wondering, obviously this is all hypothetical, but if I were a game developer and my game was starting to lose players, or maybe just not growing at the rate it used to, wouldn't I do something to try and bring in new players?
Like, absolutely. That definitely is the idea that's in mind. Like, I couldn't give you the numbers exactly, but like Street Fighter is more like just feels more prominent and like
Does it? Okay.
yeah, like it's
I've never played it. I think I played Street
It's
Fighter
fun.
1 or 2 at an arcade like 2 times, and that's it.
It was probably Street Fighter 2.
Probably.
So back in the I want to say pre-Street Fighter 5 era, so Street Fighter 4 and backwards, cross-game contamination of having players that played multiple games was at its all-time low. Like, everyone was very to their communities, so if you're an anime player, you were playing anime. If you're a Street Fighter player, you hated everyone else, and you thought, like, you were just like, oh, if I stopped playing Street Fighter and you played your game, I could crack top 8 easy. And it was like Johnny Donuts going 0-2 in bracket or whatever, saying that.
Right.
And that was definitely a big Street Fighter 4 era. But now the like cross contamination or whatever you want to call it for players is way more than it's ever been. Like, Street Fighter players are going to play anime games, anime players are going to play Street Fighter. Like, everyone's just like, yeah, isn't fighting games great, guys? And I'm just like, yes, finally you realize.
Well, I have noticed from the fighting game content creators that they're really pushing this unity thing with fighting games, where it's like, we don't talk about the Street Fighter community much anymore. We don't talk about the Soul Calibur community anymore. We talk about the fighting game community.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, it's fighting games as a whole. And I think it's kind of like a thing where a lot of these content creators don't want to be stuck to one game. They also don't want their fans to be stuck to one game. And so they're trying to, like, promote this, like, because when let's say you watch like an Overwatch streamer, right? Like, they're a professional Overwatch player. They still play Valorant, they still play Apex, they still play Fortnite, you know, like, they play all sorts of shooter games. They don't just play Overwatch, you know, so it just kind of makes sense. Yeah, I think that might be our answer too. Like if people are branching out more, maybe the games want to simplify and be a lot more similar, so that way it's easier for someone to play multiple games, right?
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean in that sect, cause like not that I'm like well known, but I'm gaining more YouTube traction.
You're fairly popular, yeah.
Eh, we're getting
All
there.
right.
So like when things first started popping off a little bit, it was all about the Dragon Ball content. And Dragon Ball is one of my favorite fighting games of all time because it's really where I got my start, and that kind of like bled into other fighting games for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to run into the problem of, hey, play Dragon Ball, this like 5+ year old game. When
Forever.
yeah, in all actuality, maybe I want to play Street Fighter that day. Maybe I want to play
Yeah.
Guilty Gear, and even within that, like certain things are popping off, like Grand Blue's popping off, Street Fighter's like doing okay on my channel and stuff like that. Within that though is a problem in itself because if you're known for playing fighting games, people aren't gonna like when you go to play Call of Duty or
Right.
whatever. You have to be known exclusively for your personality for like that kind of cross contamination to actually happen. And maybe you've even, and I know you felt it yourself because of that weird dinosaur game. Like
I was gonna
dude,
say I'm the perfect example of this. My IO videos. So before my IO video, I'll tell you what. Let me go through a quick description of the history of my channel.
dude, lay it
right?
down.
So I started. My first video was me and you playing the Dragon Ball Super card game, and then I uploaded exclusively Dead by Daylight content.
I love Dragon Ball
It
Super.
did decent. It did okay. After Dead by Daylight, I started playing some League of Legends for a bit. Didn't do very well. Took a break. Came back with the Isle. For anyone who doesn't know, the Isle is a survival game, an open world multiplayer survival game. What is going on with my throat? Where you play as a dinosaur. You choose the dinosaur you want to play. You start as a baby and you eat stuff and grow up. And so in my League videos, I was getting between like 5 and 30 views within the first couple of months. My most popular video is an Isle video that has 2,915 views. I am no longer playing the Isle. A lot of my stuff lately has been like Pokemon and just random other anime shit. My Pokemon videos are still doing decent. They're doing between like 20 to 100 views, right? So, yeah, no, it's definitely the case that your fans will abandon you if you don't do what they want.
Oh man, like I've even felt it myself, like because I got started in 2013. Yeah, I'm old man. It's been 10 years. Woo! And still on the struggle bus. But I started like everyone else did back then, doing Call of Duty videos, being like, "Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We're gonna talk about girls today." And
having the animated intro with the too loud dubstep music.
And then it went on over to Let's Plays because I thought I was a good enough personality to be like interesting all the time and manage Let's Plays, but that's not the case. It's so hard.
Let's Plays are so fucking hard, dude.
Talking is so hard when there's nothing to talk about. Like it's partially dependent on your game and then what you bring to the table as a content.
To everyone who thinks that it's easy to do Let's Play content, I want you, next time you play a single player game, try talking without any dead space for longer than 5 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Because if there's dead space, people click off your video so quick.
And people tell me, it's like, oh, you're so good at talking. Like, you have a good radio voice. I'm like, dude, I've been doing this for like 10 years. And like, I'm still like improving as I go. Like, if I don't do Let's Play stuff.
To be fair, to be fair on the Let's Play thing, it's a lot easier now because people edit their Let's Plays and cut out the dead time, right? People don't just like play the game and then upload it anymore. You know?
Yeah, I don't have the time to do that.
That's fair.
So like, dude, I'm so patiently waiting to get through Hogwarts Legacy because I just want to go and play other games, and I'm kind of to the point where I'm done Let's Playing stuff. Like the only thing I'm probably going to Let's Play at this point is going to be Lies of P, and it's because I've Let's Played every other Souls game on my channel, so it feels like tradition, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I went into Let's Plays. I was like, I'm not good at this or good enough at this. Like there's funny moments, but like my biggest for content was guitar lessons. And one of my biggest guitar lessons when I wasn't good at giving lessons had like 30K or like still has like 33K or something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty. I remember every time I go on your channel, I see it in the popular videos. 33,000 views 6 years ago. Like, that's crazy.
Oh my god! And then I realize it's just like this isn't ultimately what I want to do. Like I made these as like a second hand, but it's like I don't want to shape my YouTube career around this. So everyone's like, why didn't you just keep making guitar videos? Because like I wanted to do other stuff. And then
when I was doing IO content, I kind of had that mindset too. I would look at people's channels who have like, 10,000 subscribers but like 20 views, and I'm like, what happened here? And then I'd see, oh, you used to do this thing and it was really popular. Why'd you stop? And now that I'm that guy, I've stopped making IO content because I don't enjoy the IO anymore. I'm just like, oh, because fuck the viewers.
Yeah,
like honestly, fuck you guys. Like,
fortunately for me, I am like wildly in love with fighting games, and it's what people like watching on my content, or as far as my content goes and on the channel. So like I've kind of like found like a nice equilibrium where I have to be like, sometimes I'm just like, all right guys, we have to talk about modern controls. But talking about things that I'm excited about, or giving lessons, or even just like concepts to introduce in like a basic manner, or just playing the fighting game because I enjoy playing fighting games, it's all good. Like the good times are rolling and I'm just having a great time, and a lot of people are seeming to like it. And then we get conversations like this, which I'm actually having a really I wasn't sure.
We also moved past the modern controls pretty quick because I think
there wasn't much to say at that point.
But yeah, like we agree that people are overhyping like both sides. They're overhyping whether you should like it or whether you should hate it, and it's like, well, there really isn't a whether you should or shouldn't. Is it good or is it bad? And the answer is, well, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
I've said this before too, that it's Street Fighter has done a pretty damn good job at what they've done for modern controls. Because it very much,
at least for what they could.
Yeah, it very much is a slippery slope of it's just like, okay, if we make it too shitty, no one's going to play it. But you could even see a good side on that, where it's just like, okay, it's going to incentivize people to play classic controls. But if you make modern controls too buff, people are going to wonder. It's just like, oh, okay, why am I playing classic in the first place if modern is so good? So the fact that it's even divisive.
Honest with you, because to me, the whole like if it's too bad, it'll incentivize classic controls, I think that just defeats the purpose. You don't even need modern controls in that sense.
Yeah,
I think the solution is figure out whatever like the fastest you could do classic controls is, and make modern controls like 2 or 3 frames slower. Like make it take extra frames to use.
That's a whole whirlwind of game balance at that point.
Well, because the problem is like when we talk about modern controls, a lot of people are talking about it like it's meant to be an intro thing, like it's meant to get you into the game.
So are you talking about on special moves, like adding a bit more?
Like if you have like a modern control that's super easy to use and it's faster because of that, just give it some delay.
Okay, interesting. I'm not sure how well that would work in like balance as far as that's concerned, but it's an interesting approach.
It would be objectively worse the higher the ladder you got, right? Like, so in lower ranks it would be really good, but in higher ranks it would be really bad.
So Cody's take was to have the option to segregate if you wanted to play against modern players or not. That's very like he's a big Call of Duty guy, so like for them crossplay was like these PC players back in the day, especially. And even
these superior players with better aim than us.
FPS is one thing. Like I get that. Like you have the snappiness of aim, especially if you're super dialed on PC. But like I've had players that I know from Rocket League complain about PC players. I'm like, what?
I think
like that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think the problem is that it's not even about a mechanics thing. I think PC players just hate console players, and console players just hate PC players. Like, that's just what it comes down to.
We're getting closer to that not being a thing. Like, you can...
it's
just slowly chipping
the more
away.
consoles become like PCs.
Oh,
to be honest. Because, like, the modern consoles, they're just PCs.
Yeah, definitely more or less. Like, even to the point where... like maintenance is very much a thing. Like, I mean, maintenance has always been a thing. Like, if you just didn't take care of like a PS2 or whatever, and it just
you say that, but you could buy like an original Xbox and not fucking touch it and just leave it there and play it nonstop every day for like 6 years and it still works.
100%. Like I still have a PS2 that works. I still have a Wii that works and stuff like that. But like
usually when they stopped working, it was because of a design flaw more than like a lack of maintenance.
I've definitely seen some, well, no, you're not wrong. But like in the PS5's case, A lot of people are learning that you have to keep your PS5 sideways because
Mhm.
the way they chose, I like how we're getting on tech talk now. The way they chose to cool it was not like a thermal paste, it was actually liquid metal. And the thing with liquid
Oh,
metal is that it does keep your CPU cooler out of what I know, but it gets viscous and it starts moving around. And if you have your PlayStation standing and it heats up, it's going to kind of pool to one side of where the CPU is causing overheating issues. So be sure to lay your PS5 down if you play your PS5 extensively or even just at
well,
all.
and funny story, since the PS3, people have been turning their PlayStation like sideways
Standing.
upright, you know,
Yeah.
and they've never actually been designed to do that. Like they've always been designed to sit flat, right, like this,
Yeah.
right? Because that just makes the most sense. Because when you have your motherboard going like this, having it balanced for going like that is really hard, right? You could stand it, and the PS3 did just fine standing, but the PS4 didn't, right? Like PS4 really struggled with that, and as it got more and more PC like, it became a lot harder to keep it cool, became a lot harder to keep it functioning well,
Ooh, that
so
thing turned into a jet in its
yeah,
later life cycle.
exactly.
Uh,
So you can do it. They design it to be able to do that, like as far as the body goes, but they don't design it to be able to do that as far as the parts go.
yeah, that's how we feel about modern controls too. Yeah, like I'm actually in the process. Let's keep on talking about the nerdy stuff, but I'm actually in the process of making a new PC, and I'm gonna donate this one that's right next to me to our living rooms for DualShock. But I have been lazy, or I haven't had the finances to order other additional parts. All I have is CPU right now. I got a Ryzen 9 just chilling in the
Yeah.
closet, and I
Thanks,
think
Biden.
next is a motherboard, and then probably after that, maybe like a 3050. But the Super of the 40 series just released recently, out of what I heard. I heard the 4080 wasn't that good, actually.
I heard the 40 series was terrible.
So,
I
but
don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard.
yeah, that's what I've heard too. Like, for some reason, it's even worse than the 30 series. As far
Well, the
as
30 series was really good, right? Like it performed really well.
yeah, and
So
so I'm gonna pick up probably a 30 series unless
I have a 3060, no issues with it. It's
oh
done
yeah,
really
I have
well.
a 2060, I want to say, and that thing has been a beast for the entirety that I've used it. So look at what you're buying, kids. Look at all of
Yeah,
the
look at the reviews. Go to r/build my PC and ask questions. Those people know what they're talking about. Most of them, at least.
yeah. On top of that, just because you have an i7 doesn't mean it's a good CPU. You have to look at the actual number to show when it comes out.
What?
I
Come
know,
on.
right? It's crazy.
It's funny because so I've never actually physically built my PC. I've picked out parts and had
Oh,
someone
really?
else build it. Yeah, I just don't want to touch it. If I build my own PC, the way I look at it is if I buy the parts to build my own PC and it gets fucked up, I just out money. But if I make someone else build it, I can
What
I
the
can
fuck,
get a
man?
refund. Yeah, I can get a refund and shit. But I don't know anything about motherboards.
There's
I
not
don't.
much to
There's
know.
well, there's just I'm just I could I can look at RAM and figure out which RAM I need. I can look at I can figure out if I'm bottlenecking my CPU. I can figure out all these things. No fucking clue what motherboard I need. No idea. So I just pick one and hope it's good, right?
The biggest thing is chipset. That's the major thing. I think the most recent chipset is AM4, which is the slot that your CPU slots into.
Gotcha.
A lot of so if you buy your stuff off Amazon like I do when I'm lazy,
Fair.
you'll click motherboard, you'll find the motherboard that you want, and then it'll recommend a CPU to go along with it, and it's gonna be compatible.
I think I'm just fortunate I have so many friends who know so much about PCs.
I'm the
I'll take
friend
that
for
much.
everybody else.
Yeah.
That
I
is,
can't tell you how many times I went to Jason and I was like, "Hey, bro, my PC's acted up. Can you take a look at it?"
dude, like I have one other friend that's pretty good at building PCs. But every time somebody gets a part or something, they're like, "Oh, hey, can you help me install like this graphics card. I'm like, the graphics card is pretty much plug and play, my guy. You just gotta install the cables and
most of the computer is right. Like most of parts is plug and play. That's what I tell people all the time. Like I don't even know how to start, and like well, just find the part it fits in and plug it in.
The only thing that's annoying is actually the like hooking up the power button and then making sure your USB ports are like hooked up, because always and maybe it's just my order of operations that's terrible, but it's always when like everything's in, there's the least amount of space possible, and then you have to plug this tiny wire into your motherboard. I'm just like,
and there's also like wiring is just always the worst part of any electronic thing. So,
my cable management's ass. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna.
That's like other people that build my shit. They do this shit nonstop every day, so they know what they're doing with the wires, you know?
Yeah, I definitely, next build is going to be much better. I say that, but it probably won't be. Dude, I'm thirsty for PC parts right now. The rabbit hole that we've gone down up until this point.
So that's what happens when we don't talk for so long.
I know, but also I'm just like you said, and like I said, there's not really like, I didn't think there was going to be a lot of conversation walking into this, because I felt like we were both of like mind, where it's just like having as long as there's a high skill ceiling at the end of the day, I'm good with it, like competitively, because
low skills floor is fine as long as there's a high skill ceiling.
Yeah, as long as like I don't want the game to feel solved too fast, and that is a potential problem. Like I like Granblue a lot, but I have a fear that it's going to be as one would put it, solved too fast, of just like everyone's going to know what options to do all the time because it's so mechanically simple.
I'll say this, and I can relate this to the Isle and why I don't really care to play it anymore. The problem with easy metas is that once they're figured out, you're just doing the same shit over and over and over again. When I played the Isle, I like to play like a dinosaur, right? Like when I'm a small guy, I like to group up with a bunch of other small guys to take on the bigger guys. And people are like, this is literally the worst way to play the game. Why don't you just get on their back leg and just bite them until they die? And I'm like, because that's not fun. It's not fun if I literally just can't die as long as I practice.
That's how I feel about TFT, which I haven't been playing TFT as much, which is big sad. Maybe I'll actually play some after this. I don't know, but of just like once a meta is figured out, like I think on the last meta it was all Bilgewater. Like Bilgewater was so buff, and everyone's like, if you don't run Bilgewater, you're fucking dumb right now because they're so strong.
You're trolling.
Yeah, and I guess I was trolling because I was just like, oh, you know what? Bilgewater's going to get nerfed after this patch, so I might as well learn some other stuff for the interim, where next patch I'll be a little bit stronger off rip because I'm familiar with how Ionia works, or Piltover, or Zaun, or whatever. And, dude, I built a Warwick unit that was, he had 3 Rage Blades, bro. He was getting so much lifesteal, bro. He was truly the survivor out there. It was godlike. Oh my god, I'm playing TFT after this. But when the good thing about simple games in the case of Granblue is they have a lot of room to develop. So right now, like, you might look at a game and be like, it's a little dry. Like, I had my fun with it. It's just like it's one patch away from being like the talk of the town again. So you know.
That's this League of Legends patch, to be honest with you. Shit's crazy.
If you're not vibing with a game, like, it's okay to not play it, but I'm just like, you know, be available to give it another chance when the time comes.
That's fair.
So how's your, speaking of League of Legends, how's your time been with the LoLs?
I'm loving it. I'm a support player, and we just got the new patch today. I've played like 2 games before you DM'd me. And it feels so good. It feels so good to play support.
Well, who are you maining right now? Who are you rocking? New map.
Yeah, you haven't seen the new map?
Dude, I haven't paid attention to League patching and
hold up.
My boy's a League player. I haven't talked to him about League in a schminute.
Let me find the new map.
So support's buff. Who do you play for support?
Well, I don't know what I'm gonna play this season. Oh man, is there not a good picture of this? I don't know who I'm gonna play mostly this season, but I played Seraphine and Maokai. So the first thing is that they changed the items, so there's no more mythic items. So we're back to building whatever you want, whenever you want.
Nice. Okay.
And then the support items have been removed, and there's a new support item that's for every support. And then when you hit the 1,000 gold quest, it can upgrade to 5 different items.
Interesting. Okay.
And this item is broken. So at level 1, it gives 3 bonus gold per 10 seconds. You get 20 gold when you execute a minion with it. Or 28 gold if you do it with melee, I think. You get 28 gold for hitting a champion with ranged. And you get 30 gold for hitting a champion with melee. When it upgrades, it goes up to 5 gold per 10 seconds. And then when you upgrade again, you get additional like benefits. They're like these crazy passives. They're actually like just better than some items. And then you still keep the 5 gold per 10 seconds. So supports have, in comparison for people who don't know, originally it was 2 gold per 10 seconds, and then it upgrades to 3 gold per 10 seconds. So you're just getting 2 gold per 10 seconds more now. So the gold that supports have are fucking crazy.
Wow.
The new map makes every lane hard to gank except bot lane. So bot lane's just like a lot of fighting over and over and over again.
Here, let me see if I can find this. Keep going. Take a look.
Yeah, so I don't know, it's like these new items, and then there's some new support items that are out. Maokai's gonna be like, I think, top tier because he's got a support dead man's plate now. It's just like this game, it's so much more fun now. They changed the Baron. There's like 3 different Barons now.
Okay, so is it a new map or is it changes to the map?
It changes the shape of the map, like where the walls are, you know. All
so
that
it's still more or less Summoner's Rift, just with like a couple of different paths. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, I get you.
Well, you say that, but it's actually like it completely changes pathing. It completely changes jungle. You know, and there's 3 different Barons, each one having a different Baron pit. So there's different walls depending on which Baron you get. After 20 minutes, if you take a buff, it applies to your whole team. Which means that if you steal your opponent's buff, their whole team doesn't get it, but yours does. The Scuttle Crab after 20 minutes, when you take it now, reveals all of the enemy's vision within a certain range. Like it's they've removed a lot of snowballing. So the 8-minute Herald is gone. So the first Herald's at 14 minutes now, but instead they have these grubs that you can fight at 5 minutes. That when you take them and you hit a tower, you do true damage burn to it.
Wow.
Like the game is just, it's a completely different game, and I'm having so much fun. It's so awesome.
With that said, though, not as big a League of Legends player these days. I still like the game. Like I haven't had much of a desire to play the game, but you know, I still appreciate it for what it is. Do you yourself play Teamfight Tactics?
No, I don't like auto chess games.
Oh, really? That's a shame.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you want to play something.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Well, I might be running Dolo on that then. That's all good. So what kind of actually, funnily enough, started me on my fighting game journey was actually League of Legends, because I was so fed up with the idea of like doing really solid, and I know it's the bronze mentality of just like, oh, you know, I'm fucking carrying right now and all these motherfuckers are throwing, but I
win and lose game.
I get more of the and there's always stuff you can do. You can take your lead, you can put it elsewhere, you can help the jungle, you can hard push your lane, and like I understand there's a lot of macro play to more than just winning lane, obviously. With that said, though, I liked the idea of being in 100% control whether I win or lose, and that was definitely the big appeal of fighting games for me, because it's my journey. I have full responsibility of it, and I felt more attached to whatever character I was playing. Like I felt like I was actually kind of the character in question when it came to fighting games. Like if I was playing Ryu, everyone knows Ryu from Streets.
Well, I will say, for my experience playing fighting games, character identity definitely is much larger in that than in a team game. Like when I was playing Dead or Alive, you know, I was a Nico player, and that's it. I played other characters, but in ranked, always Nico.
Hell yeah.
In fighting games, you know, or in fighters, I was a Videl player, right? Like so, I just played Videl, even though she was not the best. She was my character, you know, so I would play her.
Yeah.
You know, so that definitely is a thing in fighting games. Like you have characters that you will that is your character. Not so much in team games. Unless you're one trick and then everyone hates you.
So even though it balances out similarly, where like you know, there's a meta of like snowballing doesn't exist in fighting games in a way, because you could, like, having momentum is essentially the same thing, more or less.
Doesn't because of how like meter generation can work, right? Like if I'm doing well and my opponent isn't, I'm gaining more meter, which is kind of giving me more advantage, right? Like, but it's so minimal. You typically aren't going to win simply because of that. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you can, like, snowballing exists, or like, there's like the mentality, like mental snowballing in the fighting game, where it's just like, okay, like I'm like full steam ahead, like I have all my pressure going and I'm just gonna keep offense up. Versus like you actually lose like a monetary lead, you lose level, and there's still potential for a comeback in like a League of Legends scene like that, but I feel as if it's much more unlikely, because, you know, like the best you can hope for is to like extend the game out long enough where like everyone gets to level 18, everyone gets full build, and then
I tell people this all the time. It's like, oh, we got to surrender because we're losing. And I'm like, well, they haven't taken any towers. You know, they don't have an objective advantage. So why not just play until we all are the same strength and then try again?
God,
right? Like, why not wait till we're level 18? Why not wait till we have our items? Just farm. Just go kill minions, and then eventually you'll be just as strong as them. You know?
That was definitely a big thing that pushed me away from League 2, was just like, you know, like the mentality of like, especially playing with randoms, because like if you go into a ranked like game with the frame of mind like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna play as hard as I can, like, you know, comebacks can happen and all that thing, and like so on and so forth. That doesn't mean everyone else on your team thinks the same way that you do.
Yes,
like you almost have to convince your teammates to be like, hey guys, we have a chance.
Yeah, if they're not inherently ahead, they just don't want to play the game.
GG's,
right? Like,
surrender.
If they don't end the laning phase with 25 kills, they don't want to play.
Oh,
and it's like, do you want to play a game where you're challenged to beat an opponent? Or do you want to play a game where you're just like killing people over and over again? Because there's games that do that. It's not League of Legends, right? Like, it's League of Legends is meant to be challenging. You're meant to go against people of similar skill level. It doesn't work all the time. But typically, you're going to go against someone that's going to make you have to play really hard to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I even had like a bit of a shift towards more FPS again. This was a while back. Like, so before I really got into fighting games, I was big FPS. Like, I played a lot of Counter-Strike. I played a lot of Call of Duty. I played what was out at the time? Counter-Strike was definitely one of the biggest ones. I didn't play Overwatch 1. But like, I kind of had that same frame of mind, even though it was a team-based game as well. Like, I can be godlike enough to like 1v5 or 1v6.
1v5ing in CSGO is definitely, you know, like, it's a lot easier. Well, I don't want to say easier. A lot more common than it is in League of Legends, at least in ranked.
Yeah, it's more possible because like it's just based around your map knowledge, your ability to aim, holding point, holding sight, offense, defense. Like it's feasible. Whereas like, you know, you could be carrying hard on your team, but you still might not be able to 1v5 just because you're not powerful enough as a champion.
Like, there's some characters that do, but
sure,
they're usually really, really bad in the early game, you know?
Yeah, most definitely. But it's based around, it's not based around how bad your teammates are or aren't doing as well. It doesn't have a direct influence. It's just you versus them. And that was definitely a big appeal for me. And I even played a good bit of Valorant for a while. Still love that game, just haven't been playing FPS as much.
Valorant's fun. I just can't get into it enough to dedicate a lot of time to it.
Is there something that's directly kind of blocking that connection, or is it?
I think that the abilities in the game get value that's not directly noticeable. And so in order to be really good at the game, you have to understand that value. And I just don't feel like putting in that time. It feels like
That's
having
fine.
to go to school to learn to play a game, right? Like, because like you can, the things you can do with the smokes, and this is true in CS as well, is that you can actually win the game just based on smoke placement, right? Like, but you can't see that just by playing the game. You have to understand that in order to see it, you know?
I kind of like that personally.
Well, I like it too. It's not for me.
Sure.
Seeing other people do it. When I watch other people do that shit, I'm like, man, that's crazy, you know?
I like, and this especially came from fighting games, but I like when a game gives you something to chew on outside of playing it, like something for you to mentally unpack.
I do too. I just don't like when it's I don't know, because like Overwatch, right?
Sure.
So much of Overwatch has nothing to do with like in-game mechanics. I would say that more of Overwatch is about macro play than it is about micro play. But at the same time, none of it is. I mean, I don't even know how to explain it. So, like for example, on tank, you know, the most important thing is your spacing, understanding what areas you control and what areas your opponent controls, what areas are neutral. You know, taking space when you're supposed to, giving up space when you're supposed to. Right. This is like one of the things that I really, really enjoyed about Overwatch. But it has nothing to do with what the tank does, right? Like, knowing when I have space has nothing to do with fire striking people, you know? It's all about understanding the complex macro play of it.
Yeah, you're essentially playing footsies with how much space you want to... You're playing neutral.
And for all you tanks out there who think that your team is why you're losing when you're dying over and over again in fights, you're why you're losing. You didn't own that space.
Oh my god. Yeah, like... There was some the thing that's turning me off from Valorant lately, and I still love Valorant. I still like it a lot. I like it much more than Overwatch personally. But that's just me.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
So
everyone probably should.
The only thing that I don't like about Valorant is the power creep on champions. And I feel like you're seeing that more and more. I haven't kept on the pulse of the game as of recent, but you look at the characters that first came out initially, so like your Jett, your Phoenix, your Sage, even though Sage is still pretty good, and then you compare that to the new characters. The things that the new characters are capable of are dramatically greater than the old. Like essentially old characters are like playing CS:GO, just with like a little bit more flair on top. Like, what do you think they fundamentally do? They have smokes, they have Molotovs, they have...
And they all require some level of knowledge or skill to get value out of it.
Yeah, but now you...
older characters.
Yeah,
but now you just pressing a button.
Yeah, it's just like, I've created this fucking railgun, essentially, and I am God. Like, they're in a power fantasy, comparatively.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, this something's not adding up here, but it's okay. Yeah. I still like the game for what it is. I
gotta tell you, the first time... Is it Deadlock, I think? The first time I got caught in a Deadlock ultimate, I was like, oh, so there's just no counterplay. I'm just stuck here and hoping my team saves me. Cool.
Ooh, I don't know. Are we maybe Brimstone?
No. So the way it works is they shoot like a circular beam,
an orbital laser. Oh,
no. They shoot it out of their arm. It's like just a projectile that goes straight. And if it hits you, it binds you so you can't do anything, and then pulls you towards them. And then if you reach them, you just die.
Oh shit!
Your team has to put like a full magazine's worth of bullets into it to break you out of it. But then by the time they do, you're already out of position. You're gonna die anyway. You know, it's just such a low skill ultimate. I fucking hate it.
Yeah. So I mean, quintessential.
When you compare that insta kill to like Jett insta kill, which is I have knives and if I click your head with them, you die.
Yeah, you still have to aim good.
Yeah, you know, like it just feels a whole lot less punishing. It feels more like the other person was rewarded rather than you were punished.
Yeah, big power creep on that one. And I'm a Jett fan. Like, Jett was my day one when I first started playing the game. I'm just like
old Jett Dash.
Ooh, for real. I abuse the shit out of that to get out of sticky situations, or at least even just peek or push objective. I still love her, but she is not who she was. She changed it up on me, bro.
She's of her former self.
She's for the streets, dude.
She really is.
Oh my god. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like we touched upon everything pretty nicely. This has been fundamentally amazing. I always love our chats. Do you have anything more you want to talk about, or you feeling pretty tapped?
Yeah, I don't think so. Besides, if you like real-time strategy, Stellaris is a lot of fun.
I might check it out. I actually know nothing about the game.
I just started in a empire that was wholly militarist and have conquered basically the entire galaxy in 100 years. So
fuck yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
If you like Baldur's Gate, I'm gonna play that.
I do have Baldur's Gate, and I still haven't yet to beat it.
I played it on beta way back in the day, and totally
I think
forgot.
Glitchy has Baldur's Gate too. Maybe we can get a full group going.
Oh shit! That's the thing with me, is just like syncing my schedule with other people's schedules.
Yeah,
It's, like,
being an adult sucks.
I know you have to look at the fucking star signs and just like, okay,
Yeah.
Little Dipper is telling me I have off today. That's
Speaking
definitely
of,
how it feels.
I just got my schedule yesterday. I need to post about it so we can figure out when we can do that drinking thing.
Oh, dude. So, yeah, I'll reconvene with you about my schedule for next week. But any closing thoughts? Personally, I got nothing.
When a game changes something, especially when it's designed to make new players like it, don't get so upset initially. Start asking yourself, why are they doing it? How are they doing it? Is it good? Is it bad? When can it be good? When can it be bad? Start questioning things more than being offended by them, is essentially kind of my take on this.
Ooh.
And you could probably just start the video with that, and that just everyone will understand my entire arguments.
Rub some fucking dirt in the wound. Well,
yeah,
listen,
just-
pussies.
Yeah, because that's what it comes down to, and that's what all of these things come down to. It's the same thing that happened when Overwatch switched to one tank. Is everyone freaked out? You know, just instead of being offended by it, start asking questions. You know, start thinking about, can it be good? When can it be good? How would it be good?
All right, well, hell yeah. Definitely appreciate your time. Thank you so much for stopping in. Like I said, if you guys want to check out this man, you can absolutely do so by going to Olaf the Bard on YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff. There's links to everything will be in the description down below, or maybe the comment section, and you guys can hit this guy up, hunt him down, find his stuff, like his stuff, and you know, throw him on your shoulders to celebrate. But
almost no fighting game content on my channel though, so
okay. It's okay.
Just a fair warning.
That's what I'm here.
And what is there is new player stuff. So.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.